Yes, guys. It's Tiago's Father 89 here, back on your screens for another episode of the Red Sea podcast. And it isn't just any episode, it is our transfer deadline day show. The window has been epic for Liverpool Football Club thus far with the signing of Diaz. But is that it for Liverpool Football Club, or is there more in the bag for the Reds? We find out, and we bring you everything that's transfer deadline, everything right across all the clubs in the Premier League as the news filters into us. We go live right now.
Tell the world we are Liverpool, champions of England.
We've conquered all of Europe. We're never gonna stop. From Palestine to Turkey, we've won the fucking lot. But Paisley and the Shankly, the fields of our field gold. We are unsupported, and we come from Liverpool.
Yes, guys, we're back for another episode of the Red Sea podcast, and it is your transfer deadline day special, and the deals are toppling. Without further ado, let me invite and recommend and introduce you to the man himself, the Southern Scouser. SS, how are you, bro?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm looking forward to this one. I missed the last one with being on holiday and not having any internet connection, so I'm ready to go for this one. And busier than the usual January transfer. Sometimes it can be a bit of a quiet one, but yeah, lots and lots to talk about, and hopefully a bit more to come as well.
Yeah, I know, and it doesn't seem like the deals are over. The window has been epic this far, and guys, we are joined by a special guest, fresh off a little social media exploit in the Twitter spaces, giving us top quality content. As always, it's the man himself, Roscoe from Redmen TV.
Hey, gents.
What is that you're wearing? What is that? That looks like a sexy number, that does. Oh, yeah, that is lovely, that.
Little 90s number.
Yeah,
I love that. That is beautiful.
Makes me think David James, that one.
It does, yeah, it does.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, it's meant to be.
All you need is the blonde hair and the tash.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the tash and he's got a little bit of blonde hair.
Yeah, getting there. How are we? Long time no see.
Yes,
I
mate,
know. We haven't seen you for ages.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming
Busy?
on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
it's all kicking off, isn't it?
It is all
mate.
kicking off. We like you said, we have nothing, and all of a sudden it's like fucking buses. Everything rolls in at once. So let's survey the window thus far. I mean, Diaz, boom, that came out of nowhere. That was epic. Like, we all sat there thinking, oh my God, it's going to be another January. And I'm sat here planning this show thinking, for fuck's sake, I've got nothing to talk about because Liverpool are going to do what Liverpool normally do and sign fuck all in January. Yeah. And then out of nowhere, we just trumped Spurs. Like, it was ridiculous. Roscoe, talk to me.
Yeah, I think everybody's trumping Spurs at the minute, even non-league football clubs, which is quite funny, to be honest. I was the same as you, and I just said it on our spaces there. This time last year, we were sat here talking about Kabak and Ben Davies, which was reacting to stuff that was happening. Because obviously we had injuries left, right, and centre. I didn't think anything was going to happen, and I think I was okay with it, rightly or wrongly. Obviously, people will agree or disagree. But I thought we got through the AFCON period. We're still in loads of cup competitions. Elliot's coming back. Thiago's coming back. You know, Mane and Salah are there as well. So I was kind of fine. You know, Kay Gordon's coming to the scene as well a little bit as well. So I wasn't desperate for a signing. Didn't get anything would happen. And then the Luis Diaz stuff, I think Liverpool have just gone, okay, Spurs are pushing us. Ironically, we knocked Porto out of the Champions League. They don't need money to be financially stable, so we take the best player off them. It's
very clever.
Talk about 4D chess. That's the best you're getting. So for Liverpool to react, and again, similar to the Carvalho stuff, when we monitor these people, we research and look at them for months or years, you know, and we don't just go, Tottenham buy an X player, he looks good, let's buy them. It's, oh no, we've been looking at this player for months and months and months and months. We want him. We probably got to wait until there's someone to go and get him. But we've had to be a bit reactive in the sense of, well, actually, we don't want to lose out on him. So I think he made it clear he wanted Liverpool. We've obviously got a good relationship with Porto. I haven't done business with them before. You know, and I think it's in a circumstance of everything. And again, throwing it back to last year where it was just misery. And I think the club had held back on revealing the massive injury extent. So then we could get Kabak in and Ben Davies in. Whereas now that Luis Diaz stuff feels like, the Gerrard, like that. It's that, isn't it? Like the season's still on, the Premier League still on. We're in the Carabao Cup final. We're still in the FA Cup. We're obviously unbeaten in the Champions League, which Diaz can play in. And I think it was Virgil van Dijk did an interview last week. I don't know who it was with, and I'm paraphrasing it, but he basically said, if anyone sat at home and thinks Liverpool aren't challenging for this title still, and I feel sorry for them, something along those lines. Those words and that attitude, I think, is completely different to some of our fans, who, rightly or wrongly, can be quite reactionary or down, or we're not buying an ex-player, blah, blah, blah. To get Luis Diaz in, I think could be significant for Liverpool and what silverware we end up with. And not just him as a player. I think the way that he's lifted the mood of the squad, refreshing up a little bit. It'd be interesting to see how Sadio Mane reacts in all this as well. I've taken it as a huge positive. I think I can only relate it to Tsimikas and Robertson as my guess to what will happen. The Robertson had a dip in form, and he's played a hell of a lot of football, knackered physically and mentally. Okay, here's this lad. He's going to come in, relieve you of a few games. You've got some competition. By the way, he's playing really well, so you need to up your game. Sadio Mane's obviously form has been up and down over recent months. He's coming for a bit of criticism. Much to say, this lad can't just relieve him of a bit of pressure. Play 1 or 2 games a week, and to help him out. Mane can take a seat back, look at the sidelines, and go, okay, I've got some competition. I've had a rest. I'm switched on again. Let's go for it. Yeah, it's great. It's a win-win for Liverpool.
I totally agree with you, and we referenced this in the space that we were just on. And those of you that missed the Redmen TV space, it was absolutely fantastic. Some really, really good content in there as well. And also, just want to plug some of the stuff that Redmen TV are doing. If you haven't already, make sure you head over and sign up to Redmen TV Plus. They've got an offer on at the moment with a code. Refresh me correct me if I'm wrong. Diaz is the code, isn't it? And you get a month subscription for Redmen TV.
Yeah, that runs out tonight.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, so midnight tonight.
Yeah.
So guys, you've got a couple of hours, but make sure you stick with us during the deadline day show. And then after you've done that, head over and subscribe to Redmen TV.
There you go.
Because they've got some serious stuff going on there. But you referenced this in the space that we were having. And it's a very, very good point. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of sustained competition. These players have been absolutely fantastic for us for such a long period of time that they might need a little bit of respite, and then it might give them the impetus to kick on and give us that little bit extra. I mean, SS, let's come to you, and what are your thoughts on that?
No, 100%. I mean, I always think the January transfer window is always a little bit underused and underutilized because it's such a good opportunity during the season. You don't in the summer, you don't know who's going to be fit and available, and you think this player is going to do well, and then suddenly you get an injury, and you're stuck for 12 months. But by January, you've had a chance to assess your squad. You know who's injured, who's coming back, who's out of form, and like Ross said, who maybe needs a little bit of a kick up the backside and some competition in their position. And Luis Diaz is completely perfect in that way, isn't he? I've watched him against us. I watched him against Manchester City when he scored that phenomenal goal as well. So yes, it's the Portuguese league. His stats are fantastic, but can he replicate that on a consistent basis in the Premier League? I guess we'll wait and see. But the performances in the Champions League, scoring against Man City, it was Salah-esque, wasn't it? Beating 3 or 4 players and putting it in the bottom corner was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to see him because, like you guys say, we kind of resigned ourselves to we're not going to do anything. This is Liverpool. The only reason we did business last January was out of desperation. We literally had to. It was a point where we didn't have any centre backs, so we were kind of forced into it, if you like. So to actually go and get a player where, arguably, if you were going to sign someone in January, it was to cover for Mane and Salah, being missing. But the fact that they're now not going to miss any more games, and then we've gone and signed Diaz as well, it feels like a plus rather than just an equals. We're not just bringing someone in to replace someone or a stopgap. It's trying to improve this squad overall because, we've always said Liverpool's 11 is arguably one of the best 11s in world football, if not the best in form and all fit and firing. You do any combined 11s with Liverpool, you're getting at least 6 or 7 in my opinion, with any other team. So to add Diaz in, that added competition and, seeing him on that left-hand side, he's very Coutinho-esque in my opinion, a younger Coutinho that we had, cutting in that from that left onto his right foot, bending them in. He can use both feet. He likes to go central as well. And, we've seen how many times Sadio Mane gets headed goals at the back post from Trent crosses. Luis Diaz is, if you look at the highlight reel, I'm sure we all watch a bit of the YouTube, 10-minute cut scenes. It makes anybody look amazing, but lots of headed goals, lots of dribbles. He's really quick with the ball, almost quicker with it than without it. I didn't look at his body and his kind of shape and think he's going to be lightning quick, but he actually is. He's really, really skillful, and he's pacey. He doesn't look slight. He looks strong. He looks athletic, and he looks almost a perfect mold for the Premier League and for this Liverpool side as well.
I totally agree with everything that you said. And before we talk more and we perv more over Luis Diaz, just quickly, Rangers have completed the signing of Aaron Ramsey on loan from Juventus. That news flashing up on your screen right now. Just quickly on Aaron Ramsey, we won't spend too much time on this. Left Arsenal on a free, headed over Turin because it was a dream move. It was a chance to play Champions League football. It was a chance to set his family up for life. If I remember some of the quotes. Roscoe, I mean, is the career now in the mud because he's now back in the UK, but north of the border, playing for Rangers? Has his career arguably gone down the pan because Liverpool were linked with him at one point, and obviously we end up signing Ox, didn't we?
I think career in the mud's pretty harsh. If the Rangers fans listen to this, I don't think they'd agree with you. Rangers are actually are a massive club. I think.
They're huge. They're huge.
Standard of football and what you're talking about. Any club that he could have gone to, arguably. But this is the whole thing about transfers. You can do all the statistics and analysis that you like on players and output that they've got, but every single transfer is a risk. No matter how much you pay them and what the transfer fee is. Which is part of the gripe I have with some of our fans, and I must stress, some if want to go and spend X amount of money on such and such a player is all great, but Everton has spent £500 million and I've got nothing to show for it. Manchester United have probably done that and maybe a little bit more, and I've got nothing to show for it. So what you spend on a player and what you pay them in wages is completely irrelevant. Sometimes it's about doing your due diligence and what that player is like. Aaron Ramsey always had his injury issues. I know he missed a hell of a lot of football. So, in fact, initially him going to Juventus and being on such a high wage was ridiculous in the first place. But maybe, that offer was too good for him to refuse. And who am I to sit here and say to him, you're taking 250k a week at Juve, you should have gone to X club. If he's doing what's best, he thinks is best for him, good opportunity at a massive club, can sort his family out, then that's fair enough. I think he had opportunities to come to England today as well, which I think he turned down, and he's chosen Rangers over that. He's got a chance to win a title there and win some silverware. Might not be the Serie A or a Premier League or a Champions League, but he's in a chance with winning something. And if it suits him, then fair play to him.
I totally agree with you, and it is a chance to play football. And like I said, Rangers is not a small club, but it does seem like the fall from grace. SS, surely you're going to back me up on this.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably be a bit harsher on Rangers. You see, as soon as Gerrard gets the chance to move to a mid-table Premier League side for a team that could possibly win back-to-back titles, he jumps at the first hurdle. He's straight in. So it's a strange one. I look at Premier League midfields. Aston Villa as an example. He would walk into that centre midfield. They've got Douglas Luiz and other players that are kind of either at the end of their career or very very much at the beginning.
You diss John McGinn. Don't disrespect John
McGinn. He can play alongside him. But I mean, even Arsenal. Would he not get in Arsenal's midfield? For me, he would.
They haven't got any midfielders. You're right. Yeah.
We've seen 7 or 8 players, I think, leave this even this month from Arsenal. Aubameyang being the latest one on a free to Barcelona, which was a bit of a surprise with 18 months left. Obviously, the wages is the big thing they're trying to get off the books, but. Like you say, you mentioned Rangers. Aaron Ramsey, when he left for Juventus, it was always a little bit of a bigger step up than I would have expected. I don't think he went there probably expecting to play. If I'm honest, we saw Emre Can do something similar when he left on a free from Liverpool and couldn't get a kick, and ended up having to go to Dortmund and probably regretted his decision in the end. So, yeah, I still think Ramsey's got a bit more to offer than a Rangers. I think he would have got into 60-70% of the midfields in the Premier League. So. Strange one. I would imagine 95% of the wages are probably still being covered by Juventus. I'm not sure how many years left he has on his contract, whether he's a free agent in the summer or next year. But yeah, maybe it's a 6-month deal for he thinks, do you know what? I'm just going to go. I'm going to play football. I'm going to get back fit, going to get back firing. And it's almost a kind of, a demonstration of, hey, here you go, guys, in the summer, I'm looking for a move. And he'd probably have, someone slightly better slightly higher quality team in a slightly better league. Interested in him, and SS's brother, Samuel, the Man United fan, has said he'd rather have Ramsey in his midfield over McFred. So there you go. Maybe it's 80% of the Premier League's midfield that you'd have got into.
Yeah, I think I'd probably second that, because United are another team that are in the mud. But anyway, look, guys, Roscoe, the big one, and the one that's rambling on at the moment, because it doesn't look like Liverpool have finished in the January window. This is a deal which has been talked about certainly over the last 2 days since the focus switched after securing the Luis Diaz deal. This lad here, Liverpool pushing hard to bring Fabio Carvalho to Liverpool Football Club. I mean, I was on a space yesterday, and we were discussing this. Shout out to Don Hussam and his Football Wars space. It goes off in there. It really, really does. But this kid is a promising talent. And my thought process, and certainly on the quick show that we did when we broke the Diaz news on the Red Sea podcast after it was announced, obviously on Sky, was about this kid as well, and whether Liverpool bring him to the club.
Breaking news.
Oh,
hang on, give me 2 seconds. Paul Joyce, the Gospels, tweeted.
I think so. I think I've just clocked it as well.
Liverpool have reached an agreement on a fee for Carvalho, Fulham.
Yeah,
but a race to get medical done by 11.
Yeah, there you go, guys. You heard it here first. A fee has been agreed. And just on that, I think, like you said on the space, Roscoe, is that Fulham were playing hardball. They want to maximise the fee for this lad because he's a promising talent, and also Liverpool don't want to go to another tribunal. Heading to tribunal is just a risk in itself. Anything can happen. You can't predict it. You're sat there, and they could turn around and go, well, he's been at the club for this long. They've put X, Y, Z into his development, so you've got to pay him £20 million. That would have been catastrophic for Liverpool Football Club. We're trying to get a player in for a lowest fee possible and a risk-free transfer, a kid that's got a lot of promising talent, and it looks like Liverpool potentially have been able to do that. I mean, Ross, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny enough. We were still in the office before we were talking about it, and it was like, will it get done? I think at that point it was like, oh, Fulham have kind of said no. And it's like, you just know it's a kind of like a who blinks first. It's a negotiation. It's tactics, and what Fulham say might be something else that they're kind of thinking. But they're well within the right to kind of want as much as they want for this fella. The tribunal stuff can get a bit messy. You're also in the danger that other clubs can get him for him as well, rather than just Liverpool sorting the deal now, which I think there's been interest from other clubs, which is why they've been pushed into kind of doing this. We had the tribunal stuff with Harvey Elliott and Fulham, of course, so we don't want to go over that ground again. But as I just said in our space, then I think when Liverpool search for a player, they look at them for quite a while. So Fulham know when Liverpool come in for a player that they're more or less the first choice. That's happened before, like Salah was second choice or whatever. But they know Liverpool want the player, and if they keep pushing and pushing, this is all part of negotiation tactics, and the Liverpool go in there with Michael Edwards and Julian Ward. I'm fairly confident that a decent deal is going to get done for Liverpool.
Really?
If you want to keep up that. They want to keep up relations with these clubs as well. No one wants to fall out and kind of be bitter. Obviously, we dealt with them before. Harvey Elliott, Harry Wilson. You want to keep these relationships open in the future. You don't want to burn your bridges because you never know what's going to happen in the future. So Liverpool's get the deal done. I'm guessing they'll loan him back because that's what Fulham wants as part of the deal, because they want to keep hold of him. They'll loan him back, so he's got another couple of months at Fulham, and he comes to Liverpool in the summer. Because Fulham are aiming for promotion, and fair enough, everybody's happy. There was rumours that Nico Williams was going to go to Fulham in the past hour or so as well on loan, whether that was a sweetener for this deal, or it was we'll scratch your back, you'll scratch ours to try and get the deal over the line. So yeah, and like Adam said before, when you watch these things and you like the players, and then you watch the 10-minute YouTube compilation of like proper dance house music that just drilled into the back of your brain, you can make anyone look good. But it gets you excited, and as you both said before, we're going to, like, I thought today was going to be dead quiet in the past couple of days. Like I was off on Friday and ended up going into the office, and like part of me was like, oh, for God's sake, Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, like, it's that rush of excitement and Liverpool doing something. you've got every reason to be happy. And I know a point that you both made before is that transition to Liverpool's future and some of these players going and kind of coming in. Diaz is part of that. Jota's part of that. Kate Gordon's part of that. Carvalho's part of that. Trent's part of that. Konate's part of that. So when people say that Liverpool need a rebuild, in my mind, they're slowly doing that at the minute. So, hopefully these players can produce the business. So you've got this lad on one wing and Harvey Elliott on the other in 5 years' time. With Jota down the middle.
It sounds amazing. And like you said, SS and I have been very vocal about what we like to refer to as Liverpool 2.0. It is happening right in front of our eyes. I think it really, really kick-started with the Jota deal. Bringing Jota into the club and bringing in and freshen up that forward line a little bit. Then compounded with Harvey Elliott being promoted into the first team. SS and I, when we turned up at that first game of the season against Burnley and we were waiting for the team sheet and then we saw Harvey Elliott, we were like, oh my God. And the first reference who in the hell is injured? That's what it was. It was like, who's injured? So we were looking, and we're thinking, well, no one's injured. Everybody's fit. We're playing him in the first game of the season. Big vote of confidence, and he absolutely ripped it to shreds. And had he not got that horrific injury up against Leeds in the league, I think he probably would have played the majority of the games, if I'm being very, very honest. And then we look at the signing and acquisition of Ibrahim Konate. What an absolute signing for Liverpool Football Club! I have to say, it was absolutely epic. I then think about obviously what we've got coming up in regards to signing this kid. Liverpool are pushing really, really hard to bring this kid to the club. SS, is it a positive signing for Liverpool Football Club? Is it something that we need in the here and now?
I don't think it's the here and now. I think Ross made a really good point with Liverpool 2.0. You need to do both. You need to improve the here and now with adding the 25-year-old, the Diaz's, the Jotas, because you don't want to have a scenario where everybody in this 11 hits 32 and as soon as they go, you've got a team of 19, 20, 21-year-olds. You need to bring in both. So the likes of, you mentioned Harvey Elliott, another lad from Fulham, Carvalho being another one. But at the same time, we're bringing in the Jotas, the Konates, and the Diaz's that are in the mid-20s section. So we're not going to suddenly have zero experience in the first 11 when this group of players that we refer to as the first team are going to hang up their boots. So I would say this one is definitely future planning. We're definitely going to loan him back out to Fulham for the remainder of the season. And from what I've seen, obviously it's his first kind of breakout season. He's having an absolute flyer. Fulham are destroying everybody in their path. And I don't know if Fulham and Norwich have played each other for about 50 years. They just pass each other on the stairs every season, don't they? But we'll see. Maybe Fulham will actually have a decent go at staying up, but they're already one player weaker than they are currently. So I like him. He kind of plays in the 10, which isn't something we're very synonymous with Liverpool. He can play wide. He's probably more so on the left, cutting in on his right foot. But he does play in the 10 quite often for Fulham. From what I've seen, he's in the box quite a lot, which obviously Salah and Mane tend to go wide and cut in for shooting. He tends to wait in the box a bit more and get involved on the edge of the box as well. So picking up that kind of little number 10 pocket. So will we see a 4-2-3-1 change of formation in the future? Quite possibly. But yeah, he's got some good goals this season. He's got, again, like you say, a good highlights reel, and 19 years old. He obviously Portugal born, but has featured for the England under 19s and under 20s, etc. So very much a player in demand. And we said you saw Harvey Elliott join for the tribunal fee, and everyone was like, oh, he looked decent. He was a 16-year-old playing in the Prem, but wow, as he stepped up and become something sensational. So if Carvalho can get to similar levels, then like you say, will he probably go out on loan again next season? Elliott had that year in the Championship with Blackburn. Could Carvalho be loaned back to Fulham again next season and have a season in the Premier League with them? I think that would probably be a good thing. And then maybe the year after that, when the likes of Salah, Mane start to hit 32, could Carvalho start to pick up some of the slack where they can't play every week? I think possibly he could do.
I don't know about loaning him back next season. I want to see this lad come in and stake a claim and make an impact. I mean, there's enough games. If we want to challenge on all fronts, so we're talking about Champions League, FA Cup, Premier League, League Cup. If we want to be a dominant force in the same way that Manchester City are, this lad has to stay. Not necessarily now. Maybe next season when we start in the summer, he comes in, he works with the first team in the summer. We know what he's about. This lad has to stay around. He has to, and there's a great comments in here with fans talking about what this means for Minamino and the likes of Divock Origi. I don't think it means anything. I generally don't. I think it means that Liverpool have amazing strength in depth, and as if it, it's something we've always questioned as Liverpool fans, going, we don't quite have the depth to challenge on all fronts. That's why we bow out the cup competitions really, really early. No, fuck that shit. Like we now need to do that if we're going to remember this period as being the Jurgen Klopp era and cementing this as the Jurgen Klopp era. I want to look back at the end of this and go, we won this. I want the list to be freaking endless. I don't want to turn around and go, yeah, that was a great period for the club and we played some sensational football, but we won fuck all. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, Ross, what's your thoughts on where we currently stand in regards to the strength and depth in the club, and also whether this kid does need to stay around next season to add that extra dimension for us to go out and put together some sustained runs in the cup competitions and in the league?
Yeah, I agree with you on the strength and depth, and I think I think some people get confused in terms of squad depth and squad quality. Now, I think we've got the numbers are there, and I think people watch the Liverpool through the prism of Manchester City. So whatever Liverpool are doing, yeah, but it's not what Man City are doing. It's not, they're not spending this amount of money. They haven't got these 5 players coming off the bench. But in reality, it's fucking pointless, and you're just wasting your energy because there's something else Manchester City, in terms of the quality that they have got, in terms of how and the way in which they spend, which you won't go into on here because we could be here all day. But Liverpool's squad depth has never been as good in my lifetime supporting Liverpool. We got to a situation now where you've got a front three of Mane, Bobby, Salah, with a backup of Diaz, Jota, Elliott, and then Kate Gordon, Origi, Minamino, arguably is your 9 choices of forwards. It's pretty decent. Like, if someone can come out here and name me a better forward depth that Liverpool have had in the time supporting Liverpool in the past 20, 30 years, then be my guest, but I don't think you can. In terms of this guy going out on loan next season, I think that entirely depends on who's around Liverpool at the time. I think, we're expecting James Milner to probably leave at that point, so there's minutes that are kind of open up there, albeit not quite a lot. We always have injury issues with Jordan Henderson, Thiago. Haven't been great in the past couple of months. There's nothing to suggest that that's going to get better. You need to bed this person in. So is he going to be like, not the understudy, but is he going to come in and play the minutes that, a Curtis Jones was getting last season or this season, and he moves up a level, and then you've got that kind of, system going, there's always someone else coming through or kind of learning what's going on. So I think it's completely dependent on what happens ins and outs. If a Jude Bellingham comes in next season, then where's this lad come in? I'm not getting carried away.
We can dream.
We talk. Just for an example, if that was to happen.
It's an example which I like.
Yeah. So this lad obviously goes back down the pecking order a little bit there, but I think as Adam said, he can play multiple positions, which I think is to his benefit. So in the case of Origi, Taki, Minamino, I think Origi's going to go in the summer anyway because he can go for free, unless he plays a certain amount of games and then his year extension is triggered. But at the minute, it doesn't look like he's getting anywhere near that. He's not even getting near the bench in some occasions. And Taki, I think, will be a case to reassess in the summer. If the right offer comes in for him, then he goes. But, you have to utilise him while he's there. I'm completely with you in the sense of you have to capitalise on Liverpool being as good as they are and building while you're successful. Now, success might be the Carabao Cup, success might be another Champions League, success might be finishing second or third in the league, but it's still a lot better than what we've been doing for my lifetime as a Liverpool fan, apart from the odd cup here and obviously the treble in 2001. But you have to build, you have to distance yourself from Chelsea, you have to distance yourself from Manchester United and everyone else who blow those teams, and stay fighting for the title in every which way that you can. And if this lad can come in and and shake it up a little bit, and he can be with us for 5 to 10 years, then fine. And the other thing is, if he doesn't work out and he costs Liverpool £10 million or whatever it is, there's the case to say that you can sell him for more in a couple of years' time.
I totally agree with you. And this is something which I've been a big advocate for in general, is risk-free transfers. FSG are specialists in risk-free transfers. We look at the fee we paid for Taki Minamino, €7 million. It's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. And if it doesn't work out, we're always going to recoup that fee. Because again, we look at the fee that we got back for Dominic Solanke and what we signed Solanke for. Our board, our scouting department, Michael Edwards, and now Julian Ward take no prisoners when it comes down to selling players. The reason why the likes of maybe Nat Phillips, Divock Origi haven't already left the club is because, as far as we're concerned, until someone is ready to pay the correct fee, those players will stay in and around the club. Divock Origi being an example of, and he has been happy with that almost understudy backup role, and he has contributed when he's come into the club, into the team, and into the first team. We think about the Barcelona game, corner taken quickly, as it's now paraphrased. He was instrumental in that. The goal where Pickford has a moment of madness and keeps the ball in rather than knocks it out for a corner, and Origi nods it home. That keeps Liverpool's title challenge on course. We then think about the goal in the Champions League final against Spurs, which brought us, big ears for a 6th time. So Divock Origi will go down in folklore at Liverpool Football Club, but he's by no means a starter, and he's by no means a player which we just want to oust from the club. I've been very, very critical of Divock Origi in recent years because I think sometimes I think he could do more, but he's totally happy with his role at Liverpool at the moment, and in terms of what he does at Liverpool Football Club. So I'm not worried. In a nutshell, I'm not worried about the fee where this lad is concerned, because if it was a situation where it didn't work out, we would get that and some back because of his age. What I think we're seeing now is the effects of that transition of Liverpool Football Club. Like you said, SS, too many players are all turning 30-something at the same time. So it's better to usher in that wave of youth while we've got our senior pros there to guide them. Young Carvalho walks into training and the first person he bumps into is Thiago. Like, what is he thinking at that point? He's like, oh my God, this bloke's an absolute pass master. I like to pass a ball, so I'm going to stick with this guy because he's going to teach me a thing or two. He then bumps into Mohamed Salah on his journeys around Kirkby as well, and he turns around and says to him, "How much bread have you had today?" "Oh, sorry, sir, I've only had one piece. Yeah, no more." Do you know what I mean? all those little things that he's going to learn from being around these seasoned pros is a perfect opportunity to bring a young player into the club. SS, talk to me. I mean, where are your thoughts on this? I know you said potentially a loan, but thinking about challenging on all fronts, do Liverpool currently have, and with the acquisitions that we've made or that we've made and potentially making with Diaz and Carvalho? I know we're talking about Carvalho going back on loan, but does that leave us in a totally different position in terms of going out and having some sustained challenge and assault on all 4 trophies next year?
I mean, to be fair, we are currently having a go at all 4 trophies, and that's without adding Diaz and Carvalho. So I don't want to stunt this kid's growth. He's absolutely flying. This is his, really, as I said, his breakout season. This is his first season in his career where he's played, double-figure games in a league campaign, and he's flying. So to loan him back out to Fulham, he finishes off, maybe plays another 15, 20 games and scores another 5 or 6 goals. If he then comes into Liverpool, and like you say, if Minamino's still here, if Origi's still here, you've then got that front 5, which, trying to fit that into 3 already. Where does he fit? We've mentioned squad depth and squad quality, which Ross was spot on, in my opinion. If you think everybody's back and fit, bar Milner leaving possibly, Keita, Ox, Henderson, Thiago, Fabinho, where does this guy play? Honestly, if everybody's fit, I don't know if he does. And sitting there as 7th choice midfielder with Elliott and Jones arguably ahead of him as well in the youngster department, and 6th or 7th choice in the front 3, It doesn't make sense. It's like Chelsea. You just stockpile youngsters, and you just, instead of doing a good deal and getting a better player for cheaper, you just stunt their growth and they turn into a Lucas Piazzon who gets loaned out 8 years in a row and disappears off the face of the earth. So for me, Elliott's loan to Blackburn was the making of him. I think Carvalho is a little bit older than Elliott was at the time. So I think a Premier League loan next year, as I say, if he was to stay at Fulham for another year, I think that would be better than being a 5th or 6th choice in the Prem, playing the odd Carabao Cup game and playing the odd Premier League game, possibly waiting around for the FA Cup to come around in January. I don't think is helpful. So I think he's a fantastic little player. But we've added Diaz now. We've got the squad quality now in those positions, and it does depend if Origi moves on, if Minamino moves on. Even so, we've pretty much played for all 4 competitions, without Origi, and Minamino's coming in the Carabao Cup. But you look at the Premier League, even Mane and Salah aren't there, and Minamino still doesn't play. We've been playing Ox in the front 3 and changing it around a bit. So I don't know.
You could argue Elliott would take up a load of those minutes that Taki's played as well, had he been fit.
Absolutely agree.
And on the Carvalho stuff, like currently he's probably 5th or 6th choice in midfield, and 5th, 6th up front as well. Liverpool sold Taki, they sold Origi, they sold Chamberlain, Milner goes, whatever. Like to the point, there's a lot has to happen for him to get in the fold, isn't there really? But maybe that's to go the other way. You could have someone like Curtis Jones who has stuck around, who has been younger, who last season obviously played a lot more than he probably thought he would have done because of all the injuries. But his growth from being within the Liverpool camp has seen him rise astronomically because he's been in train with those players every day. It's again with transfers, every transfer is a gamble. You could be absolutely spot on. Loan could do in the world of good. I think everyone's different, but that's also a gamble, is keeping someone. Is it detrimental to their growth, or is it going to help them? You just don't know until you do it.
100%.
I mean, Ross, you referenced this here, saying that every transfer is a gamble. And remember, you do make a good point. But when I say risk-free transfer, I'm talking about the fee. If the fee is minimal and the player essentially, as a young player, has still got room to grow in terms of his career, the likelihood is that we're going to recoup at least that fee or more. We saw it with Dominic Solanke. What did we sell him to Bournemouth for? £30 million?
20 mil, I think it was.
Or £20 million to Bournemouth. That was daylight robbery. And what did we pay for him? Nothing.
He was free, wasn't he? Yeah.
He was
Brian Brewster's another one.
Brian Brewster come through the academy. 18 million to, or is it 18 or 27 million? I can't remember, to Sheffield United, and he's done nothing. You then look at, there's others that we've done it with. This isn't anything new for FSG and Michael Edwards or soon to be Julian Ward. And just talking about Julian Ward, the incoming sporting director himself, he said to have been instrumental in the Diaz deal. And getting this deal over the lines. I am led to believe by my sources, the dinner lady at Liverpool Football Club, who talks to all the players and everything, that this guy isn't afraid of splashing a few pound notes when it represents good value for the club. And I think with this Diaz deal, that's been demonstrated. We needed to pull the trigger because Spurs were hot in pursuit. And let's be very clear, from a Porto perspective, they don't care where the player goes. They couldn't give a damn. All they care about is their financial pressures. Their financial pressures were that we needed to sell this player or by this deadline because we had a bill or something we had to pay to UEFA to clear a debt. If we don't sell this player, we can't clear this debt, which means we then incur more fines and the debt spirals out of control. So who's going to pay us the most amount of money for this player at this particular time? Spurs were hot in pursuit. But when Liverpool's interest became real, because we've been scouting this player since March 2020, we've been scouting this player. We went back again in 2021 and looked even more. So he's always been on the radar. But when our interest became real, it was very, very clear that once you get Julian Ward and, like you said, Michael Edwards in a room with you, you have no hope. It's almost like the dream team. Johnny Cochran and Robert Kardashian freeing OJ Simpson. Do you know what I mean? They're gonna be laying it on thick. So, yeah, that you have no hope. So it represents an amazing transition for Liverpool Football Club into what is potentially going to be the Julian Ward era. I mean, Roscoe, talk to me. What's your thoughts about the incoming man and how we can have impacts off the field for Liverpool?
Probably the same with on-field signings, to be honest with you. I think I back Liverpool's upper-level management to get things right, and I don't think they get someone in for the sake of it. I think he's been under the wing of Michael Edwards for over a year now. He's been learning, how things work, and he's learning from, in our eyes, one of the best. And if he can replicate that, I think he's had his work cut out tonight. Certainly, if he's trying to strike a deal for Carvalho and meet all these people that he will have met over the past couple of years and maintain relationships and not piss people off, but get the deal right, not have the piss taken out of him because he's not Michael Edwards, not got that experience inside him. This is all part of him learning the steps. As much as you talk about Liverpool 2.0 on the pitch, you need Liverpool 2.0 off the pitch as well to make sure that we get things right. So, like, one of the things I have a slight gripe with, which it really shouldn't really bother me at all, is like when Liverpool sign a player, it's Michael Edwards, like he's the best thing since sliced bread. When Liverpool don't sign a player, it's the owner's fault, where it should be collective. Oh, actually, it's a group effort. Mike Gordon, Michael Edwards, Julian Ward, the recruitment team have all worked to get this deal over the line. Michael Edwards, Mike Gordon, Julian Ward, and the recruitment team haven't got this deal over the line. It's you share it either way. As much as we all love Michael Edwards, and he's this cult hero somehow for someone off the pitch, like I've never seen before in my entire life. Build a statue, all that stuff. It's not just him. Obviously, he's at the forefront of it, but there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes from loads of other people at the club. I think they all deserve credit at the same time. So Julian Ward has got a bigger reputation to live up to. I think there's a lot of pressure on him. I think he's had his work cut out tonight trying to strike a deal for Carvalho with Fulham. Looks to have got that done. The Diaz stuff, I think like you said, he was at the forefront of that deal as well. Michael Edwards is taking a step back and just letting him do his thing. I'm sure guiding him. You want these handovers to go smoothly. So, this is his last chance before Michael Edwards moves on in the summer. So the real test will come in the summer when Michael Edwards is gone. I'm sure he'll have him on speed dial going, what happens here? But that's him learning his trade, and and again, like I said, learning from one of the best. So I hope and I feel Liverpool will put us in good hands in Julian Ward. So it's up to him to prove it. I would like Salah's contract to be done before Michael Edwards goes. To be honest, I think I feel a bit more secure with him doing it. But this is part and parcel of life, I suppose, and a cycle of management.
Do you know what? And just touch on the Mo Salah thing. There is a section of the Liverpool fan base, and I don't want to start reading out anybody's tweets that are a little bit concerned, a little bit worried. And the reason why I say they're concerned and worried is because, FSG's model of late has been, kind of one in, one out, so to speak. We look at the arrival of Thiago. Ginny made way in some respects. So there are parts of the fan base which believe that the arrival of Luis Diaz could potentially spell the end of one of the members of that famed front three, whether it be Mane, Firmino, or dare I say it, Mohamed Salah. Could you actually imagine if Liverpool
wrong side? He's not going.
Salah go, dude. Diaz can play across that. Diaz can play across that whole front three. I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to send anybody into delirium or light any fires, but it's crazy to think that Liverpool would contemplate dismantling at this stage one of the best front threes the Premier League has ever seen, number one, and one of the best front threes that probably Europe has ever seen. Surely this is an addition, not an in and out. Do you know what I mean? SS, talk to me. Sorry, go on, Ross. If you want to.
I think it's both. I think it could be both. Now, I think the reaction of going, that means Salah's going, I think it's a bit over the top, and people are starting to worry about things which they're trying to see the future, which they can't do. It's pointless. It's a waste of energy. But there's nothing to say that in a year's time, if Manny doesn't want to sign a new contract and his form hasn't picked up and he's dipped off, but then we've got someone to replace him in the wings who's coming in, that's just business. Now, those front three are all 30, or we're getting towards 30 plus, not getting any younger. Salah, I think, is the unique one. I think out of the three, Salah's the one that you keep. But there's nothing to say that I'd be heartbroken if Bobby Firmino left. But I also understand that it's business. I also understand that it's business. I also understand that Liverpool need to improve. And again, you mentioned Liverpool 2.0. Part of that is players that we've got the best out of moving on. Gini Wijnaldum, will have been one of them. I think he was the first of that Klopp era that had won all those trophies to leave. And it was annoying that we let him go for free. But if someone comes in with a bid for Bobby Firmino, and from not a fan point of view, but from a business point of view, and Michael Edwards, Julian Ward go, well, actually, there's £40 million here for Bobby Firmino. Don't really want him to sign a new contract. It might be best for him to go. By the way, Jota's here. Same with Sadio Mane. It's the cycle of things happening. I don't think it's kind of like we bought this person just so we can get rid of another person. It's future proofing your club, and then going. If someone comes in for Mane and we sell him for 50-60 million pound, then Liverpool got the money to spend, and then you're getting shafted by clubs that know you got loads of money. Liverpool got themselves in a position where they've already got a replacement lined up. He's already in the squad. He's already integrated there. So if Mane doesn't work out, or he gets the hump, or he doesn't react well, his form doesn't pick up and he wants to go, Liverpool are in a win-win position. Liverpool just position themselves into a good sense. And if Mane just want to stay and he's firing all cylinders, then you've got Mane firing all cylinders. He wants to stay, and you've got Luis Diaz. You've got, you position yourself into the best possible scenario for me.
Yeah, like you say, Jota has come in, hasn't he, as a future-proof Firmino, and Diaz obviously is coming for a future-proof Mane. So, like you say, in that front three, you don't often see a front three, a top club, stay that front three for that long. Even Messi, Suarez, Neymar wasn't anywhere near the length of time that Mane, Salah, Firmino have been. So, that they are going to dip. Mo Salah is the difference. He is the best player in the world, and he will continue to be so for me for the next 3 years easily. So Mane and Firmino are the ones that have dipped, and bringing in players that can challenge them for their position while they're still there and still have the option to to play at the highest level. That's my kind of risk-free, because you can put Jota in for Bobby and you think, oh yeah, to be fair, Jota's been miles better than we expected. But if Jota has a bad bit of form, you've still got 28, 29-year-old Firmino, and the same with Mane and Diaz. You can pick the one in form. You don't just have to pick the one that's fit, the one that's available, because when we've had a front four, we had Jota that was missing for 3 months last season. So no matter what the form, the front three played, because that was all we had. So having 5 into 3 now gives us the opportunity to choose the ones in form and rotate that bit more, and not rely on playing Mane for 90 minutes. Or, you see whoever would start in that front three, the one coming on as the sub on the 60th minute is the fourth one. Now we've got 5. So they've all got to be fighting for it. So yeah, it's definitely future proofing. And it is that's kind of the risk free. Like you say, they're integrated in the squad. They're already going to be ready. So when that day does come, whether we run Firmino and Mane's contract down right to the death, or we say, do you know what? This time next year, Diaz is keeping Mane out of the team. Mane's got 6 months left on his deal. See what we can get for him in January. It all depends. But, in the perfect scenario, I'd keep all of them and have a front 5. But, it gives us the opportunity now to reevaluate in the summer, next January. Where's Mane? Where's Firmino? Where's the form? How many goals are they scoring? Are they getting in the team? Or are Jota and Diaz, already replacing them? And then you move those on, whether that's for money or not, and you do the next thing. And then the likes of Elliott and Carvalho become the backup and the young pretenders to Diaz and Jota. And that's the cycle and the circle of Liverpool, isn't it, really?
Do you made some good points in there, and it is starting to manifest and look that way. If you look at the profile of age of these players, and I know age isn't nothing but a number, but still, if we look at this in terms of longevity of career at Liverpool Football Club, or career in its entirety, Salah, Mane, Firmino, all 29, turning 30 in the summer. You then look at Diaz and Jota, all 25, 26. Yeah. You then look at Elliott and potentially Carvalho, all teen something. Yeah, they're all teen something. Okay. So it does look like Liverpool are getting their house in order. We don't want to be, and I always reference this, I don't want to be in a position that Manchester United found themselves in when Sir Alex Ferguson said, I've had enough.
Yeah.
That squad was done, dusted. They squeezed every last drop they had out of that squad. And what they did just to re-galvanise it in Fergie's last season was, go out and they brought Robin van Persie and said, look, that will give that little extra just to get it out of them. And they got it out of them. They won the league. And then he said, right, I know this team can do nothing more. The following season, every single one of them fell off a cliff, including Robin van Persie. He dropped off a cliff. The form was horrendous that he was putting out. It was terrible. I just can't envisage a world where Liverpool Football Club end up in that same position. I think we have learnt from lessons of old, because it happened to us at the back end of what would be considered the golden period of Liverpool. We talk about the late 80s where Liverpool were at. It was phenomenal, and there may be some of us in this chat that might be a bit old enough to remember that, because I certainly don't.
Fucking ain't me.
But, yeah.
I think Steve was in there earlier, wasn't he?
Yeah. No, but it's true. It's true. I just don't ever want to get back to that. Like, Roscoe, could you imagine? And does it bear thinking about? You get to 2024 and Jurgen Klopp says, right, I'm going on one of my little sabbaticals. I want to be on the beach sipping pina coladas and journeying and traveling the world. I've done everything that I can do.
On the Erdingers.
And on the Erdingers and raving it up in true Klopp style. And then we look at the squad and we've got everybody at 32 and we're sitting there going, oh, fuck, we need a major rebuild.
Yeah.
Like, I would, you'd be sick in your mouth. You'd just be sitting there thinking, what the fuck have the owners done? Do you know what I mean?
You'd be where Arsenal are at now, or where a couple of seasons ago, 2 seasons ago, maybe
very
that,
good
and go through that
analogy.
mass rebuild, and completely dropping off. Recruitment is one of the hardest things to get right in football, I think, and I think a rebuild is a very close second to that. We mentioned before about transfers being risks and stuff like that, but it's all right having your finger on the pulse now and wanting to build now. I think Chelsea are kind of very good at that, of just going, we'll throw money at the problem, we'll get a new manager in.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 years later, it's not working out. Oh shit, we'll just do the same thing again. Whereas a lot of clubs and Liverpool's model isn't to do that. I mentioned Manchester United before. Was it been a decade since they won a league title? As you said before, since Fergie kind of got off, they've been trying to rebuild for that. That's how hard it can be, and particularly when you have like Chelsea. Obviously, we're in early noughties, then Man City with their investment, and you have Newcastle that are coming in now. The competition to, within a league for you to be at the best, and the margin for mistakes is getting lower and lower. So for Liverpool to be in that situation, I would dread, because it's not the football that you play and the results that you're getting. It's the climb back up to the top. Exactly. It's taking longer and longer and longer. So we say 2024, Jurgen Klopp jogs on. I want to see Liverpool compete for a title in my lifetime. In that sense, if we were to go and do that. So I think building for the future. Hopefully building for Jurgen Klopp staying, and I'm getting carried away with Jude Bellingham and Klopp staying in these things. But you want him in the best position possible if he wants to stay, or you want the next manager to come in who's in the best position as possible to say, here's a fit squad, here's all the ages of the squad. You can build it. You don't have to do anything to it. But I don't want to end up like Arsenal. I don't want to end up like Manchester United. I don't want to end up like Everton. Everton are probably what feels like an aging squad in pretty much every department that they've kind of got. Mm-hmm. But they're in a situation where they can't throw any more money at the situation, partly because they spent that much money and waste that much money on old, shite, average players that they can't sell. They're screwed, and they're just going to find themselves in a cycle, and now they're battling relegation. I'm not saying Liverpool will get to that, but that just goes to show if you're reckless and you don't do due diligence in recruitment and future proofing, dark days aren't far away from you, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I think that's
one
thing.
Haven't we?
Yeah.
Never again.
I hope so, yeah. And Roy Hodgson was your manager. Yeah, when Roy Hodgson was your manager, and you're getting Paul Konchesky and just absolute dross. This is why you should enjoy the times now.
Yeah. No, you're right. And we all remember some of the bottom tier fodder that has played for Liverpool in that treacherous period. Oh God, it's horrendous. And speaking of bang average players and our shitty neighbours, Everton, Dele Alli is close to signing for Everton. And look, I just want to get around some of the other clubs. Everton have obviously signed Donny van der Beek on loan as well until the end of the season. And the big acquisition for them in this window is Agent Benitez departs having done our bidding and destroyed Everton that little bit more. And Frank Lampard comes in, who has the trophy for let's see how much we can F and Jeff on the touchline at Jurgen Klopp on for the season before last. I mean, Everton are in a pickle. They're in a real pickle. I just don't think the kind of they know their arse from their elbow. Is the tail wagging the dog, or is the dog wagging the tail? I just don't think they have a clue as to what direction they're going in. One thing is clear, that they do have funds and they are prepared to go into the window and spend it, because they know what getting into European competition for Everton could potentially do. They've got a new stadium which is coming as well, and they need to fill it. Otherwise, a new stadium doesn't make sense, and they're never going to fill that new stadium with an angry set of supporters. We saw the scenes when Rafa Benitez, opted to become the manager at Everton. Fans saying they don't want him, and then they kind of warmed to him, and then the football wasn't going the way they wanted it to go, and then they all turned against him. And then there was talk about that Pereira guy coming in, and then the banners were flying up going, no, we don't want him, we want Lampard. There's just a total mutiny going on at that club, and it's just in a really, really shit place at the moment. I mean, SS, and thankfully that you're not, but if you were an Everton fan, I've told you off for turning up and wearing blue on our podcast before.
Yeah.
If ever you were an Everton fan, I mean, what would you be thinking about the current state of play? Is there optimism? There because Lampard's now the manager? They've got Donny van de Beek in, and they're about to try and get Dele Alli in, or are you still sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, we're fucked"?
I mean, I've said before that the best Everton was when they didn't have two pennies to rub together. When they had David Moyes and they were getting, they had Cahill and Arteta and Baines and Coleman. They had Pienaar, they were getting all these players that were like little diamonds in the rough, and they were brilliant. They finished 4th in 2005, which meant we had to start our qualification for the trophy we were currently champions of in, I think, June against TNS and Kaunas and all the rest of them. They finished. That's their highest finish in the Premier League, ever, and remains so. And like you say, that the more they've chucked money at it, the worse they've got. 50 million on Sigurdsson, 40 million on Iwobi, and you're thinking these are just such average players, and now they're doing it again. 40 million on Dele Alli. That's not when's the last time he played a good game? 2016, 2017. Yeah. I mean, they've brought in a manager at Lampard that knows how to waste money. Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, bringing in flops is part of his CV, I think. So, I'd be very, very worried, because like Ross said, with the FFP scenario now, when Man City wanted to climb from being the 15th best team in the league to being the best, you can spend £300 million every window until you are, but it's much tighter now. And like you say, you look at the summer window that Benitez had. £1 million on Damari Gray and Andros Townsend on a free. That was what they had. That's all the money they had in the world left without getting into big trouble. So I have a little bit of sympathy for Rafa, because I look at the squad he inherited. I look at the 11, and when you lose Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin to long-term injuries, there's not a lot left there, if I'm brutally honest. You look at Van der Beek coming in on loan, good signing potentially. Let's see if he can actually play 2 games in a row for somebody, and can he contribute? But bringing in Dele Alli as well for that amount of money, they've just sold Digne with one of their better players and brought in El Ghazi on loan to replace him. It's just a mess. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So, they need to try and stay up. They need to really invest in Lampard, and hopefully he can sort them out, because I do think he's a good coach. But I just think, you look at Gerrard at Aston Villa, bringing in Coutinho, bringing in Digne, 25 million pounds here and there, and he's starting to improve the team without spending silly money. And for me, 40 million on Ali, it just screams desperation.
I mean, that goes back to the recruitment I was talking about before. You mentioned Damari Gray and Townsend there. That's arguably 2 of Everton's best players for me. Besides, I'm not a fan of Richarlison. I think he's a massive knobhead. But
I agree.
Like, you can spend a little money, and it's the output that you get from those players. Whereas Everton has spent, Christ knows how much money on Keane, on Sigurdsson is obviously not there anymore. Richarlison, I don't think he's lived up to his potential. You've just had Cenk Tosun, who didn't believe was still at the club until I saw him at the bench the other week, and thinking, fucking hell, and a big wages as well. James Rodriguez, loads of money. weekly wages for someone that the fans never even watched play, and then got off at the first opportunity that he had. The Dele Alli stuff's really interesting because it's his last chance, isn't it? It's last roll of dice for him, and I think that the fee is actually free currently, which initial fee is free, which just shows the drop off and how desperate Tottenham were to get rid of him. And the rest of it is based upon appearances. So I think if he plays 20 games, it's £10 million. If he plays, it's just does something else. Like it could be a total of, but whatever. The point still remains the same as what he was saying. Free is worse than 40 million.
Wow. Wow.
Because who else wants him? Everton were desperate for him. Everton couldn't loan anybody else because Rafa had loaned El Ghazi, so they used up the loan quota, so they had to buy him, which is why he was free. It's just an absolute fucking mess. Van der Beek, great. I think there's actually a player there. I actually feel really sorry for him, actually, in the way he's been treated at Manchester United.
Yeah.
I think he's also become like a fan's favourite. The fact that he because he's hardly ever played, but he's shown that grit and determination. I think Everton fans can kind of relate to, be it alone, but not positions that I think Everton needed to cover. They desperately need a centre half. I was talking to Ped from Toffee TV today, and he's like, they need a number 6. And the short midfield options, obviously Gomez gets injured a lot. Allen's not really a deep line 6. The Corey's injured, so they've, it feels like they've plugged a load of gaps, but there's more to be filled for Everton. But to the point, their concentration and Lampard's concentration at the minute is just to stay in the fucking league.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, you mentioned David Moyes there, a manager which is arguably working miracles at West Ham. They're absolutely fucking flying. To be honest, and surely Everton are going to look at that and go, fucking hell, what could have been? Do you know what I mean? Because he went to Manchester United as the chosen one. I'm not being funny. As much as I hate Manchester United, as much as I dislike Everton, if you're David Moyes and you're dubbed the so-called chosen one, and you've got an opportunity to go to Manchester United, you're going to take it. But there was a potential for him to go back to Everton after that happened, and I believe that he wanted to go back to Everton, but Everton were like, we've moved on from you now. We don't need you. My, have the roles changed? Because if you look at where the two clubs are at, and arguably two clubs which are similar in size, similar in stature, it could not be different or any much different, even if you wanted it to be. West Ham are playing European football, have a stadium which they're filling week on week, and playing some serious ball because they are now a hard to beat side. And Everton are languishing in the bottom levels of the table. This Lampard deal has got to work. It has to work. I feel this is an opportunity for Everton to go back to the drawing board and say, do you know what we're going to do is we're going to build with the youth. We're going to have a core of players which we're going to build around, and we're going to stop splurging fucking money on trying to reach Europe, and just have a moment of, what's the word? They're going to consolidate for a while because they need to really, really cut their losses. So just quickly, we're going to get off the Everton topic. There is just under half an hour to go in the window. And this Carvalho deal hasn't jogged on any more to where it is from where we understand that a fee's been agreed. I have heard that Liverpool could potentially ask for an extension to conduct the medical to get all the paperwork in. That is something that can be granted in the window if you are close to completing the deal. We don't want any fuck-ups with the paperwork getting scanned to the wrong place or not getting scanned at all. Turn the fax machine off like Real Madrid, like Manchester United did to Real Madrid with David De Gea. So we don't want to see that happen again. And at one point, it did look like Pierre Aubameyang was doing a Peter Odem wingy and had flown all the way to Barcelona and didn't even have a fucking deal in place. I was literally creating my meme to troll Arsenal fans at that particular point, but he has agreed a fee to head over to Barcelona on, again, a free transfer. I mean, let's just quickly talk about Arsenal. They've let so many players go in this window, and I've arguably said that the window for Arsenal isn't necessarily a bad thing in letting loads and loads of players go. It might actually be a good thing in terms of the amount of dead wood which they've managed to get off the books in regards to the players which they had. SS, I'm going to quickly come to you on this as well.
Yeah.
Like, where are Arsenal at in the mix? That they've not signed anybody. They needed a striker. They were chasing Vlahovic.
Yeah.
You can see all the heat coming on the timeline with all the Arsenal fans going, Urdu's a fraud. He just goes off to wine vineyards and there's loads of these images of him eating wine and cheese, and all the Arsenal fans are going fucking nuts because they're like, stop drinking wine and cheese and actually negotiate with someone because we need a fucking striker. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's all been outgoings, isn't it? Maitland-Niles, Kolasinac, Pablo Mari, Callum Chambers, another one, Aubameyang now as well. So, I don't know, they were the biggest spenders, weren't they, in the summer? I think they spent, 150 million pounds. So maybe they were, in the red and they needed to get some of these players off the books no matter what, because, you mentioned not the biggest fees. The people that they've been letting go have been loans and free transfers and cancelled contracts. So maybe it's a case of lowering the weekly wages on the bill. But, they've not really been in Europe for quite a while in terms of Champions League. They've not really been getting the top earners. So, where does the money come from? So I would expect them to have brought someone in still. Looking at the January window, there were deals about. We mentioned Aaron Ramsey. That would have been up their street surely on a loan deal. I think he would have improved their team. But yeah, it's a strange one. It's nice for once being a Liverpool fan and looking at the transfer window, and we're involved not just in one but in two. January window's gone by. You look at Evra and Vidic turning up for Man United, and you think, Jesus, you're buying top players in January. This myth that nobody can get anyone decent in Jan is an absolute joke. They're available. You just got to find them. So yeah, Arsenal have gone into January and almost weakened themselves as a squad, which is quite amazing. I don't see them coming in the top four with Nketiah and Lacazette leading the line anyway.
But potentially, they've done themselves a disservice, and I think it's a massive gamble by Arteta there. But I think I think what they've done is, and what he's trying to do, because I was looking at their outgoings in the summer and like the players that he kind of got rid of who weren't of a good quality or a good standard or what he wanted, and they've embedded all this youth in. I think he's trying to change the culture and the attitude at Arsenal, and I think that's he may cut his nose off to spite his face, but I think that's more important to him in the Aubameyang deal by saying you're a bad apple, you've been negative for whatever reason they felt the other week, and obviously Aubameyang doesn't want to be there anymore, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. He'd rather go, fuck off then, leave. Yeah. You go what you need to go and do. I'll go and work on people that want to be here and want to fight for the shirt and want to play for Arsenal. I think Lacazette is the epitome of that, because I think he grafts his way through football games. I don't think he's the goal scorer that they need, or what trying to replace the goals of an Aubameyang. But I think from Arteta's point of view, he's trying to nurture all these young players to have the right attitude and to have the right ethos at Arsenal and what it means to be there. You mentioned a load of players there. They kind of got rid of like a Kolasinac, and Mesut Ozil's gone in recent years. Aubameyang's just another one of those players who's there on massive wages, not pulling the weight, and he'd rather go, okay, I'll see you in a little bit. Then it feels a bit stupid to not get a striker in. Obviously, you mentioned the guy at Fiorentina that they've been after. I think Calvert-Lewin would have been a brilliant striker for them. Had they got a bit of money for Aubameyang, obviously it's a loan deal, but maybe he'd rather wait and go, actually, I fancy my chances in no cup competitions, no European whatever football. We're playing once a week. We fancy ourselves to get in the top four against other things, so it's a big risk, but we won't know until we get to the end of May.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And guys, we've just got under 20 minutes left in the window, and just as we're doing the rounds, we're just talking about Arsenal quickly as well. Like you said, it is a huge risk, and Aubameyang has obviously gone to Barcelona on a free to end his misery at Arsenal Football Club. You're right. I think Arteta is kind of building something, and he's setting a character. He's trying to basically set the ethos of the club and say, look, like you said, you're going to have to fight for this shirt. You're going to have to die for this shirt. And you could see Pierre Aubameyang wasn't doing that. I mean, the forgotten man, Nicolas Pepe, everyone was turning around going, oh, he's the only man to dribble past Virgil van Dijk. Let's be clear, he fucking didn't. Do you know what I mean? So can he come in to that central striking role and really start to show the quality that everybody believes that he has? They signed him for that fee for a reason, or Arsenal had their pants pulled down, and he's another player.
their last result, what was it? Home to Burnley, 0-0. You know, they clearly need investment. They clearly need improvement. You know, you look at the 11 that started that match. Yeah, Ramsdale, Tierney, White, Gabriel's not bad. You know, you got Holding, Lokonga. You know, Smith Rowe and Saka can be great, but are still young. You can't rely on them to be brilliant every week. Odegaard is another one. It's inconsistent, and yeah, Lacazette does put the work in, but is he going to score enough goals to ultimately get what they're trying to aim for, which is top 4, or are they going to come 6th to 8th again, which looks more realistic now? You know, Vlahovic for me was a pipe dream. That was never, ever, ever going to happen. Fiorentina just wanted to push the interest up. He was always going to stay in Italy. He's only 21. When Juventus come for you, that's a top tier club. You're going to move. You know, they're not winning the league this season. They didn't win it last year. Juventus will start to reinvest again. You know, they put all their apples into Cristiano Ronaldo. That bankrupted them for a while, and now they're going to rebuild and start improving the 11 again. So for me, I think Arsenal are, again, similar to Everton. You know, they need to spend some serious cash, even to consolidate what they currently are, just to try and, you know, stay where they are. You know, people like Aston Villa are improving and closing the gap to Arsenal. Arsenal are trying to catch Man City, Chelsea, and Liverpool. I think they need to look over their shoulders rather than up at the minute.
I totally agree with you. Let's just jog it on slightly as we're doing the rounds and we're talking about sort of what's going on out and about in the transfer market at the moment. And we're just going to head onto Spurs again. There's been some outgoings at Spurs as well. We're talking about Dele Alli potentially leaving the club. Giovanni Lo Celso joins Villarreal on loan as well.
Ndombele as well on his way.
Ndombele as well, heading off to back to Lyon on loan as well to end that misery that's compounded his time here in the Premier League. But Spurs have also been busy bringing in some players as well. Just flashing up underneath your screen, they got a deal completed earlier on for Rodrigo Bentancur from Juventus and also Kulusevski as well from Juventus. Antonio Conte, is he getting what he needs to assemble a top 4 challenge, a top 4 assault? Or are we potentially going to see Antonio Conte do what Antonio Conte does best and say, do you know what, fuck it. I'm throwing my toys out the pram. You lot are all shit and you don't match my ambition. I'm off.
It's a mad one with Conte, isn't it? Because he goes to Serie A and then goes and buys a load of players from the Premier League and goes to the Premier League and goes back to Serie A to go and buy a fucking load of players. It's mad. It's in a difficult situation because, you know, we joked about it before. They wanted Diaz, didn't get him. They wanted that guy from the non-league club and he wasn't interested. So as much as we're talking about Michael Edwards and Julian Ward and everyone kind of being the best at the job, Daniel Levy's obviously a tough negotiator and tough to deal with. But Conte should know that when he goes into the job. Just to take a back step as well, you know, you mentioned Pepe there, which I completely forgotten about. Again, further to my point before, you know, you can spend 70-odd million pounds on someone, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to work out. Bring it to the point there, Tanguy Ndombele, you know, did he spend 50, 60, 70 million pounds on him? And they've loaned him back out. And I think there's an option to buy for 65 million euros, I think was reported earlier on today. So I don't think he's worth anything near that, but to the point of 60, 70 million pounds on another player who hasn't worked out, it's not the fee, it's the person that you're recruiting has to be right. Yeah. So Tottenham have found themselves in a situation where either they can't attract the right players, it's January transfer business, and as much as you said before, Adam, about, you know, it's difficult to do business in January. I think there are players to be gotten, but I think a lot of teams would rather keep the cards close to the chest and then go big in the summer. Yeah. Tottenham's aspirations now are to get top 4. To try and keep the side together, to try and pick Harry Kane's lip off the floor and get him playing football again it has to be their priority, because if they don't, you know, they can find themselves in a situation where they've been screwed over in the summer. And I felt sorry for Nuno Santo and the fact that he had all that stuff going on, which was out of his hands. They played Manchester City without Harry Kane, looked a really good side, had team spirit. Harry Kane comes back in with his tail between his legs and he seems to put everyone's nose out of joint. From the outside looking in, that's just what I think. Are you going to get to the summer and Manchester City aren't interested in spending £100 million on Harry Kane? What happens then? Who is going to buy him? Does he have to stay? You know, so Conte, I think, has got a difficult job to try and attract these players. But again, he'll be looking at loan players. It's hard because I don't think you'll ever get the full commitment of a player when they're on loan. So, you know, as much as I said before, you've got to get the person that's, you know, at Arsenal, recycling these players because they want people to be at the club and fight for the shirt. It's always difficult when someone's on loan, but this is the circumstance that Tottenham have found themselves in. If that's their only option, they won't go big and spend loads of money on players, maybe because they've been burnt by an Ndombele or other people.
Yeah,
I don't think Sanchez as Adams Sanchez has really worked out for the money that they spent on him. They're having to shift things around a bit, and obviously, does it suit the manager's style of play? Does it suit the system? Does the manager like their attitude? Do they react to what the manager wants? Or some players need a bollocking, some players need their arm around the shoulder. They have good relationships with managers. Spurs have got they have like 3 managers in the past 2 seasons, so there'll be players there that have been brought in by another manager. The same thing has happened to Everton of 6 managers in 6 seasons. It's just amalgamation of 6 managers teams, so it's never going to work out. So Tottenham have just found themselves in a pit of misery of the way they can go about and do their business, and when they're getting rejected left, right, and centre, then this is where things can change very quickly. It wasn't all that long ago, as much as we joked about it before, where we were getting picked to signings by Tottenham, by Chelsea, by Arsenal. It's not just a London thing. It's where the club's at, and how they project themselves. Liverpool, in getting Diaz, acted like a big club and went bollocks out on the table. No, we watched him for 2 years. Actually, we were going to get him in the summer, but he's going to fuck off, and we'll have him now. On Spurs, Spurs don't have a leg to stand on because of where they're at.
I totally agree with you. Just quickly as we jog it on slightly, because I don't want to spend too much time talking about Spurs because they are in the mud. To be honest, and that's where they will stay.
Even Brian Gill's another one, isn't he? Brought in for big money, and he's out already.
I was going to say he's out. He's out on loan. Just on. I know you referenced Harry Kane, and that transitions nicely into Manchester City, who are title rivals. They've made a signing in this window as well, and they've also got rid of one player as well, heading off to Barcelona. Look. The Harry Kane thing in the summer was we all sat there and thought, fuck, if Manchester City get Harry Kane, that's a big problem. The deal didn't go through for whatever reason, and Manchester City find themselves heading into a Premier League season, Premier League campaign without a recognised striker. They've gone into the window today and they've brought Julian Alvarez from River Plate, and they've loaned him back till the end of the season. I feel the tide is changing at Manchester City. I think that they're looking at their transfer business and looking and thinking, we don't need to go into the market and spend huge, phenomenal sums of money to go and get players. We look at this signing, and it's something like £18 million. That's not something we normally associate with Manchester City. We normally associate that big glitzy, 50, 60 million pound deal, 70, 80 million pound. Jack Grealish, £100 million deal. Are we witnessing a bit of a sea change in the culture at Manchester City and what they're looking at doing? And I don't know much about this kid, but are they going through their own little rebuild themselves?
Nah, boom, Haaland, July
1st. Do not SS. Do not put these fucking things in the atmosphere. Erling Haaland is going one place and one place only. And that is to
Man
Real
City.
Madrid. You think Manchester City?
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere else, is he? Let's be honest. No one else can afford him.
I think
else. PSG have taken out the loan of a small country to get Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe in the same squad. I know one's on their way out, but Jesus, I don't think they can add Haaland to that. Barca and Madrid have got nothing left. And if Madrid get Mbappe, they're not going to get Haaland in the same summer, are they? Bayern Munich have been on Sky News today saying that they're giving Lewandowski a new deal. You don't have Lewandowski and Haaland in the same 11. So I think Alvarez is like the new Jesus. He's going to be the backup, the rotation in the 9 because they haven't got a striker at all. And I think Erling Haaland comes in the summer. That's going to be a big problem.
Or like you said, that's their new model. You look at Torres, Man City. Didn't really work out. Wasn't massive sums, but I think they sold him for a profit in the end, didn't they? So
I think with Ferran Torres is that he wanted to play straight away. He didn't want to do the whole bedding in thing. That I get the gist of that. He thought he was better than he was, and it was like, right, well, if you ain't going to play me, and I'm not going to play every week, I'm off. And then Manchester City went, okay, then bye, see you later. And they've gone and invested that money or reinvested the profits into this kid, who I don't know anything about.
I mean, he's got a decent record. He's got 20 goals in 35 games in the Argentinian league, but be that as it may, the Argentinian league is a difficult one to rate, isn't it? But he's 22, so he's coming into the prime of his career within the next few years. But I think it's another one. Manchester City like to bring in players young and hungry. They're happy to stick around for a season, 2 seasons, and if they're not getting game time, like Leroy Sané, he looked brilliant when he was first at City, and then suddenly Mahrez, Sterling, all these other players arrive, and he's suddenly not getting that much game time, and he moves on, and they bring the next 22-year-old in that sees Manchester City and his name up in lights, and 2 years down the line, Alvarez will probably be on his way on a loan to Everton or something because he's not playing. So I think that's always going to be their model.
I know. I see that. I do see that. I think with Manchester City is you look at players like Phil Foden, who have now broken into the first team. Like he's a fixture now. They got Cole Palmer as well, who's an absolute fucking beast of a talent. Who's looking to break into the first team as well. Are they again with this type of signing? Going into what could potentially be Manchester City 2.0. The likes of Kevin De Bruyne are now 30-somethings. Fernandinho's a 30-something. The age profile of their squad is starting to come down with the acquisitions that they've made, and also with the academy prospects which they're bringing through. They're looking at this thinking, we need to switch up the tact a little bit here, because how long can we keep on going out spending, the Dubai and Emirates money before the league go, hold on a second, we've let you off about 3 times. You're taking the fucking piss now. Do you know what I mean?
They've come this far. I don't think they can stop. When they start getting sponsors from a hotel chain that is owned by an entire state, do you know what I mean? They just keep on doing it. I don't think they haven't really ever gone like massive repetitively. I don't think, but I think it's the 50, 60 million or 40 to 60 million pound constantly.
Yeah.
I think it's what people have an issue with. Jack Grealish is a bit of an anomaly in spending that much on one player. But it's like, we'll spend 60 million pound on the left back. Okay, he hasn't worked out. We'll just buy another one. Our right back's not worked out. Oh, so we'll just get another one. Winger hasn't worked. Oh, we'll just get another one. Yeah. And they'll just kind of like that. That's how they built up their squad depth and squad quality, because he's just buying these players, and they're happy to take a massive wage and just kind of sit there in a soulless stadium and win things. I'm not bitter about it. So.
That's how it goes. I mean, just quickly, we'll just touch on this real quick. There is 7 minutes left of the January transfer window, or 6 minutes left of the January transfer window. There is still no news on the Carvalho deal. Are Liverpool potentially not going to pull this one off? Or do we see that Liverpool have asked for an extension? Just really, really quickly.
I think we'll wake up, won't we, in it, and it will be deal done, or it would have been extended. We've seen it loads of times. We have a month or a whole summer of transfers, and the amount of people that put in the late paperwork to get it over the line is insane, isn't it? It was all left to the last minute. So yeah, I mean, if the fees are agreed, we managed to get out to Colombia in a day to sign Diaz. I don't think Liverpool to London is going to be too much of an issue. So I think we'll be out. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, Roscoe, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think we've had representatives in London all day while this deal's been going on. I think there's 2 sheets that have to come through. So I think if we get a sheet in to say that we want to buy the player, that's one, and then there's another sheet to say that we want to loan the player back. But I think if we get the sheet in time before 11 o'clock to say this deal's done, then you get a 2-hour extension window. So it's all in the next 5 minutes. But I just read a tweet there from Kevin Palmer that says, it's come too far now for it to not kind of work out. So, how long are these sheets and how long do they take to get filled in? I'm pretty sure it's not 20 minutes or whenever it was since Paul Joyce tech. So,
we've had a Fabrizio Romano.
We've got Julian Ward and Michael Edwards, but they can have a sheet each, just 2 people doing the paperwork.
That's it. That's it. Sorry, SS, you said that we've had a Fabrizio Romano.
Yeah, we've had a Fabrizio Romano tweet. Fabio Carvalho to Liverpool. Here we go. Deal in place. 5-year contract. Medical ongoing. In order to sign paperwork before deadline, Carvalho has accepted all clauses in the contract. It's race against time now. Fabio Carvalho will stay at Fulham on loan.
So it's okay. So when Fabrizio speaks, it's pretty much done. Isn't it? Like, it's pretty much done. Look, just a quick whip round. Newcastle, big up Kendall Rowan. I know that I was on a space with her earlier on. and she's fucking buzzing. Newcastle have recently, obviously, or just now, have signed Dan Burn from Brighton. I'm surprised that Brighton didn't throw a little cheeky Nat Phillips bid in. Then, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are you thinking? You've let arguably one of your better centre backs go, and you've let Nat Phillips go to the Championship with Bournemouth. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, and they were linked with Phillips for a long time last in the summer window. Like, Roscoe, like what's going on with Brighton?
It's nuts, isn't it? I had today a podcast earlier with some Bournemouth lads, and obviously they're happy that they've got hold of Nat Phillips. But I said to them, was astounded. Brighton, Burnley, Everton, Newcastle,
100%.
But the list could go on with the teams that Nat Phillips could play for and do pretty well. So Brighton have become a bit of a selling club. I think they've done well so far to keep hold of Basuma. I know Aston Villa are interested in him earlier on in the week. I think he might move on in the summer. But it could be the difference between them staying in the league or not. It seems a bit daft, to be honest, and the fee's pretty low. But Newcastle are a team that have got a bit of cash flying around at the minute. So what's more important to Brighton? They feel that they can stay in the league and be secure, and they're £50 million better off by selling Dan Burn. Then fair enough, and they will replace him in the summer. Same for Ben White. They sold him for and a lot of money in the summer. It doesn't look like they've missed him really. They seem to have slotted in quite well and hasn't been missed. So it's a big fish, little fish, isn't it? I suppose in terms of the Premier League. So yeah, the Nat Phillips stuff I found quite bizarre, to be honest with you. Last summer, and it wasn't January. We weren't going to really sell him well. I suppose summer just gone. I was surprised because I thought someone would have come in for him, but obviously Liverpool weren't getting the offers coming in that they wanted for him, and said, "Well, you're not going to have us the right money. We'll give all of it. It's fine with us." And it appears the same might be here. Liverpool were adamant they didn't want to loan him. He said they didn't want to. But if the right offer's not come in, okay, sound. You have to humanise Nat Phillips in this and all this as well, saying he needs football. He needs to play games of football. If he does well at Bournemouth, he puts himself in the shop window. His value goes back up, because while he's at Liverpool playing at Kirby 5 days a week and not playing at weekends and stuff, his value is diminishing. His value is dropping off. So it's in Liverpool's interest to say, go on, have a loan, you be happy, Bournemouth get promoted, and they want to keep you. Sound, there could be a deal in place there. You put yourself in the shop window and someone else in the Premier League comes in for you, and there's a battle for you, fine, we need to do it. And you get his wages off the bill, as little as they are. Yeah. Could be, everything adds up, doesn't it?
We want Bournemouth up again, don't we? They like spending a bit of cash.
I said that to the lads before. You just give us loads of money for shite players.
Well, it's a funny one, because if you look at that and you say that if obviously Bournemouth come up, then we could potentially put a deal in place for Nat Phillips to stay there at Bournemouth. And you talk about the loan as well, about putting him in a shop window. That makes sense, because, like you said, we were adamant we didn't want to sell him, and the value is constantly diminishing because he's not playing games. How do we best protect that value? And the only way of doing that is a loan. And if he goes to Bournemouth and he does well, they get promoted, because they're in contention for automatic promotion or via the playoffs. That's a fantastic thing to have on a player's CV. To say I've been promoted with a team and we're going up. So he can actually advertise himself in a shop window. I think I'm also surprised that Newcastle didn't stick a little cheeky bid in for him, because that would have been a perfect signing for Newcastle. And they've gone for Dan Burn over Nat Phillips. I can't really believe it. 30 seconds left of the window, guys. If you're not already liking and subscribing, make sure you're doing everything to get that like up on this screen. Make sure you follow the Red Sea Podcast on Twitter, YouTube, and on Instagram, because we'll be keeping you up to date with everything that we have. We'll do the countdown. Go on.
The one thing I was about Nat Phillips as well, which I think might be important, we don't know the details of, but I think from his perspective, I think a Bournemouth is good for him, because he's potentially got a promotion on his CV rather than a relegation. And maybe that's a battle he didn't want. So we can talk about Burnley and Newcastle and Everton as much as we want, but maybe he fancied, actually, I don't want to battle relegation. I want to play good football. Bournemouth play out from the back. I can get promotion on my side. On your CV, 6 months loan, what did you do? I've got Bournemouth promoted. 6 month loan, what happened? I got relegated with Newcastle. I think it's good for him.
They signed Todd Cantwell on loan today. They got Kiefer Moore from Cardiff, so they've had a busy window. I think that should put them up in the top 2, probably with Fulham and, like you say, Blackburn,
and
probably
Blackburn
the
as well
favourites for the playoffs. I would say you would think those 3 would be the ones going up.
Yeah, guys, that is it. It is just as the clock has struck and chimed 11 p.m. The January transfer window is now closed. Just quickly as we go to wrap up the show, let's just assess Liverpool's January transfer window, and we'll do it really, really quick. Before we wrap up the show, and it's just flashed up via Sky Sports News as well. Liverpool close to signing Fulham attacking midfielder Fabio Carvalho. I think that we're going to get the extension. I think that the paperwork is going to go through. So I'd consider that as a done deal. So let's call it 2 players in. Yeah, in this January transfer window. Roscoe, I'll come to you first. How have Liverpool done in this window? You know, where do we consider this window for Liverpool Football Club? And big shout out to Roy at top of the cop. Thank you for joining us, mate. You should have been here, Roy. We wanted you as well, but you stood me up.
I'm so happy you said as well from the end of that sentence.
Yeah,
not instead. Not being Roy's sloppy seconds. Do you know what? I if it was to rank out a 10. 8 or 9, you know, and 10 would only be something else. You know, I don't even know what 10 would be. You know, another
Not
position.
Roscoe, you're hard to please, man. You're hard to please.
I've got high standards, believe it or not.
Yes, so's my colleague over here.
Right. No, but that's not a criticism. That's just like a 10 would have been like, oh, we've got another midfielder in it. You know, we just would have completed the whole squad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's so high because, as we mentioned before, I just thought Liverpool aren't going to do anything, no ins and outs. Let's just get us in a transfer window. I thought I'd be in bed by now, if I'm being completely honest. It'd all be done, but here we are. You know, we've got an exciting prospect in Diaz. You know, who can galvanise the front line, obviously contribute to some silverware for us this season. You know, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the Carvalho deal's done. It's not for now. It's not for this season. It's for the summer. But I think it's a smart piece of business. Hopefully, fingers crossed that with all the paperwork goes through. So, you know, no complaints. We haven't lost anyone. Obviously, Nat Phillips has gone out on loan. That's fair enough. It's not really affected the squad. So, you know, if we've built on a squad in January, which is a bit mad, you know, considering throwing it back to the last season with Ben Davies and Kabak into a diminished side, as you know, was mentioned before by Adam, that we were desperate. And, you know, this time last year, we were waiting to see the extent of Matip's injury because the club didn't tell anyone to save face, so they weren't getting screwed over in business deals. You know, and did we not know that things were going to get a lot worse? Whereas the future seems really bright now. You know, we mentioned all the players before of Diaz, Elliott, Jota, Trent, Kelleher, Morton, all these Jones, all these players that are coming to the forefront of Liverpool, mixed with a Thiago Henderson, Salah, Mane, Bobby. You know, it's mental. So hopefully it's enough business to spare other people on to galvanise the squad and give us a push towards lots of silverware at the end of the season. So yeah, I'm very happy.
I totally agree with you, SS, because I know you're the man with the high standards, the man with the yardstick that will only be measured by our own lofty standards. I mean, where do you see Liverpool's sort of window? And oh god, I don't want to see this. Don't do it. Don't. I can't. Could you imagine? Guys, look, I haven't seen anything or heard anything to say that the deal sheet has been rejected. If it has been rejected, there is another opportunity to push the deal sheet through, especially if we can ask for an extension. Don't panic, guys. Do not panic. He will be a Liverpool player.
But like you say, we've had the "Here we go" tweet, so I would be amazed if it didn't go through now. He doesn't put his name to that lightly, does he? Of Fabrizio.
No.
I agree with Ross. To be fair, I think 8 or 9 out of 10. I mean, like you say, a 10 out of 10 is, you know, we get a backup right back, we get a centre midfielder that can actually play 2 games in a row. Would have been the 10 out of 10 perfect. But to get a player for now, and a player for the future. And spend pretty much £50 million. what more can you expect, really? I didn't like Ross said, I didn't expect anything. I expected a complete zero incomings. So to get someone of Diaz's quality for £37 million, which is a fantastic fee, and someone that can, like we've said, come on and really galvanize and push on this team, and it gives everybody a lift that, like Ross said at the beginning of the show, the season's not over. Let's chase down Man City as much as we can. He can play in the Champions League. He's not got to do a Fernando Morientes and become head cheerleader for 2005 because he's cup tied. He can go straight into that Inter Milan game if we want him to, and he gets another bite at the Champions League cherry as well. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with Diaz. Carvalho, if it gets through, I don't know. Maybe it won't. You just tweeted something, Ross. We've got now till 1 a.m. to do it.
That's someone that we follow. He's normally quite spot on. So
cool. So yeah, I mean, like you say, if it gets over the line, one for now, one for the future, you can't really complain with that. So yeah, I'd say good solid 8.5, 9 out of 10. To be fair, so they've done very well. Time for to step the F up, as you say, TF.
Yeah. I know. And look, I'll have the final say on this. I mean,
go for it, mate.
This transfer window has amazed me. Solely because we, like Ross said, and like you said as well, we went into the window with the expectation that we were going to do fuck all. Let's be honest. As Liverpool fans, we don't enter into January transfer windows with huge optimism that we're going to bring in signings. And then to get Diaz over the line, arguably, yes, our hand was forced, and a lot of rival fans will point to that and have been pointing to that, going, "Oh, you only did it because you had to." Doesn't fucking matter. Big teams react when we need to react, and we did that. So I'm not going to sit here and turn around and say that I'm not happy with today's business. I'm over the moon. And again, if the Fabio Carvalho deal is done, and if it does mean that we're loaning him back to Fulham, that just puts a cherry on top for me. To say that, the board, Michael Edwards, Julian Ward, Jurgen Klopp, Mike Gordon, and dare I say it, FSG have and guys in the FSG out camp don't at me. But dare I say it, FSG have stepped up in this window. And for me, marks out of 10, I'm going to go over solid 10 because I don't think there is anything else that we would have wanted in this window that is going to help us with our title charge. We are still in a title race. When we look at the complex of the league currently, we're 9 points behind Manchester City with a game in hand. If we win that game in hand, we cut that to 6 points. We still have to go to the Etihad in April. If we win at the Etihad, that's 3 points. And are Manchester City going to slip up again? Yes, they will slip up. I do believe they will. But it's then down to us for us not to slip up. And our pal and our great friend who now resides in the second city in Birmingham with Aston Villa. He's still got to play City as well. So could Stevie enact the revenge of a lifetime? And I've been battling on about the revenge tour. Could Stevie G jump on with the bandwagon and inflict some pain on Manchester City that brings a title back to Liverpool? I believe in fairy tales as a Liverpool fan, and I think it's possible. We're very much still in this title race, and this Diaz deal, makes it work for us.
Bad news, Ross is coming up.
Go on.
It's fallen through.
Oh no, Paul Joyce has tweeted it's bad. Paul Joyce has tweeted it's bad. Joyce tweeted.
David Lynch, is it that one? Yeah, Liverpool.
Yeah, David Lynch. Yeah.
Go on. Hold on. What have we got, Roscoe?
Liverpool's move for Fulham midfielder Carvalho is off. Transfer hinged on the player being loaned back for the remainder of the season, but there are no deal sheets in the EFL, and the agreement wasn't finalised by the 11 p.m. deadline.
Oh dear.
Okay, I'm not worried. The reason why I'm not worried is because between the clubs, there's clearly an understanding that they want this player and that we want this player. So in my mind, I believe that we still get this kid in the summer, and I still think that we pay Fulham a fee for the player as well. If I'm being honest, I mean, Ross, what do you think? Do we still get him in the summer, and do we still pay Fulham a fee? In the summer as well.
It's a mad one with transfers because this is kind of like we've become obsessed with like a name that we're kind of linked to. And it happened with Timo Werner. It happened to the fucking hell, I've forgotten his name. Who's the fellow who went to Chelsea? midfielder. Got like 200 grand a week, and he hardly plays for him.
Drink water.
He's there. No, he's there now. I mean, we're in the summer.
Sal
Niguez.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, on the bandwagon, like, get him, blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of months later, like, I've literally just forgotten his name. So I'm disappointed the deal hasn't gone through, but he wouldn't have played for us this season anyway, so it doesn't make any sense. So I'll be upset if we don't get him in the summer a little bit, but we'll do our research and due diligence and get the next best thing or someone else at the time. So the wording of the tweet seems a bit mad. There was no sheets, whether Liverpool didn't do it properly. For Fabrizio Romano said the medical was completed, but the paperwork and contracts not. But he says a deal in real danger between Liverpool and Fulham. Fine, I'm all right, but fine.
Am I right in saying that we could still get this through on a technicality? Deals have gone through after this, so we may wake up in the morning, and he still might be. I'm being very optimistic here, guys. Allow me to salvage.
Mate, it's gone.
Allow me to salvage this as best as possibly can.
Sorry, the wording is the EFL don't do deal sheets, and it wasn't done by 11 p.m. Like, why would you not do them?
A bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a bit strange. No, it's just, like you say,
on a post-it note.
If like you say, he wasn't going to play this season anyway. If we go for him back in the summer, his contract expires. So again, it will be the same negotiation with the player coming in at the same time and around about probably the same fee. I think we'd agreed a £10 million deal, or it was around that fee. So with the tribunal going to it, a player of 19 years of age going on a free transfer, having been trained homegrown by an English club, I think it will be around that amount of money as well. I remember back in the day we had to pay Burnley for Danny Ings, didn't we? He came on a free. And we had to pay for a tribunal in the summer. So, we've lost 6 months of someone that's going to be loaned out anyway. And let's be fair, we're probably going to get him for the same fee in the summer. If he's gone through the whole medical scenario, he's going to be the most gutted person out of all of this. Liverpool fans are annoyed, but Fabio Carvalho is going to be in bits at the moment. So he's going to just want to be, just say, do you know what? Okay, never mind, but bring it on in the summer and we'll get the deal done. And I think it'll be a very similar fee.
Again, I think there's enough to be said because there was will from both sides in this. Liverpool wanted a deal. Fulham played hardball to the 11th hour. They were keeping the player anyway. Yeah, like you said, Roscoe. I think that the gentleman's agreement will still stand if we can't get this through anyway, whereby we're going to pay you this amount of money for the player. You were going to accept this amount of money in January. We'll still give you that amount of money for him in the summer because you were going to keep him anyway. Yeah, all we'll do is as soon as the January window opens, boom, he's a Liverpool player. Done. Because we're still going to want him, unless something extraordinary happens in the time that he's at Fulham and Liverpool go, ooh,
But also where he might might decide to channel his anger. This might be Liverpool's fault for not getting the stuff organised. He might go, fucking hell, you had all month to buy me if you wanted me, amid other interests. But they had all day today to sort it out. They were trying to strike a fee and a deal and kind of all that stuff. But it comes to the crunch. I think he'd done his medical and the sheets weren't done, or there is no whatever. He might go, you had your chance to get me.
Could be Fabio Fekir, couldn't it?
Yeah. Hell, yeah.
No, it could.
It might do.
It could be.
You don't know.
Yeah, you could be. It could be. I mean, did him and Harvey Elliott play together? There must be a connection that they know each other. There must be a connection. Could he play a little bit of a, agent Elliott and say to him, listen, mate, this is where you want to be. Yeah. Look at me. This is where you want to be. So there is that. Guys, we're just going to close. Roscoe, I appreciate you joining us, my man. Like, really,
sure.
Thank you for coming on board.
I'm normally in bed by now. This is well late for me. I'm such an old man.
Thank you, mate.
That's all right.
No, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. Just tell the viewers what you got going on at Redmayne TV at the moment.
Loads at the minute. We just released a documentary on the murals around Anfield. So obviously you've seen them. You will have seen them before. We've been to them. We document how the stories of them, where they came from, how they started, whereabouts they are, where you can find them. So that's really interesting. We've got another one coming out on banners. So the banners that you'll see around the people who make them, the stories behind those as well. We've got a story of a crew coming out. We've got other documentaries that are already on the website already, plus all of our usual content as well. So we've obviously got Steve on board in the past couple of months. People may have seen Steve also. We've just been able to kind of spread the workload a little bit and ramp things up at the same time. So we're just hoping to do a documentary or two every month on top of other content. So that's what's even's going. So
yeah, fantastic.
And you've got 40 minutes of a Diaz free code for a month if you want to. You type the word Diaz in on club captain level, you get it free for a month, so you can get it in video on for podcast.
There you go. So make sure you're doing that if you're not already, because if you aren't, you are missing out on some serious content. These guys, and I've always said that the guys at Red Men TV, they are the GOATs of Liverpool YouTube. They were the first. So, all these doors are open because of these boys here. So we salute you. Yeah. And obviously for everything that you guys do in the YouTube game. Still waiting on our invite back on though.
Hey, Steve just deals with that now, mate. It's not my job anymore. Best organisation has gone.
Yeah, I know that. But when you know a man that can,
I'll have a word with him tomorrow.
SS, what we got coming up?
Yeah, we've had a little bit of a hiatus, haven't we? We've got obviously AFCON watch. We might get that back on with that hitting the business end of things. Obviously tonight's the end of our transfer shows, but Cardiff coming up in the cup, Leicester coming up in the league, so we'll be doing the previews and the Red Sea full times for those as well.
Yeah, definitely. So make sure you're keeping it Red Sea podcast. Here he is. And our man, top of the cop, Roy. Look, mate, you've got a list here, pal. You need to be cracking on with Steve and say, listen, there's a list of guys out here.
Roy's been in.
Before we've been back. Oh, the disrespect.
Yeah. Twice. He's been in. Twice.
Oh no. Listen, guys, we've been the Red Sea podcast. That's been our deadline day special. Thank you for everyone that stuck with us right the way through up until the close of the window. Liverpool's transfer window has been absolutely epic. 10 out of 10 from me, Thiago's father. Diaz coming in for an initial fee of £37 million, rising to potentially 49 million with add-ons. It's been an epic time if you are a Liverpool fan. And guys, we are still in a title race. Strap yourselves in. And by the way, we're going to Wembley, Anfield South. Let's go and get it. We're out.